and Catherine Hanna. Now, Johnny Rotten is in town. I last saw him rather incongruously advertising butter or a butter-like thing on the
bizarre, isn't it?
What on earth was that about? Anyway, he's playing at the O2 Academy in Leeds City Centre tonight, but won't be hearing unanimous cheers, at least when he turns up at the gig. Probably different when he's in the venue. The former Sex Pistols frontman will face Palestine supporters who aren't happy about Johnny Rotten's decision to perform in Israel at the end of August.
And similar protests are being planned at Johnny Rotten's gigs up and down the country, but tonight's protest has been organised by the Leeds Palestine Solidarity Campaign, and their secretary Andy Brown is here in the studio to tell us a bit more. Morning, Andy.
Morning, Catherine.
Just briefly explain for us then why you're protesting about Johnny Rotten's gig.
Well, as part of the growing anti-apartheid and Palestine solidarity movement, of which we are part, we're reflecting the call that was made by the Palestinian Society over 5 years ago, which was a call for a boycott of Israel, essentially, especially from cultural artists, from musicians, performers, performing in the state of Israel while the situation exists of the violations of human rights and the breach of international law.
But music and politics don't necessarily combine. You know, would him cancelling this gig actually make the slightest bit of difference to what's going on politically?
Well, I think it would be a small step in a larger picture. Several artists before have already pulled out of Israel, of playing in Israel, including Elvis Costello, Carl Santana, Gil Scott-Heron. The Israeli government and the state generally considers people playing in the country as something of a propaganda coup, and therefore Johnny pulling out of the event would be a sign that all is not business as usual, and people aren't happy with what's going on in that country.
Don't you support freedom of choice, though? Why shouldn't he, as an artist, have the right to play wherever he wants?
Absolutely, I do support that, and we've actually got no issue at all about Johnny personally. It's really just an opportunity to use the medium of music to convey a message to a wider audience. All we want to do is present the facts to Johnny and to his fans, and then from an informed position make a choice based on his conscience. Again,
though, why should he care? I mean, he's a musical artist. He's there to perform to his fans. He's not making a political statement in any way, is he?
Well, just to reiterate, anyone performing in the state of Israel is considered by Palestinians, and particularly by the Israeli state government, to be a recognition of the policies towards Palestinians, which is one of anti-apartheid. You know, the abuses of their freedom, the conditions which are held, the settlement lands. So it's a clear statement that people recognise that is an acceptable situation if they play there at the moment.
If he did decide to withdraw from doing the gig in Israel, wouldn't that actually just be penalising the Israeli people, penalising his fans, rather than the government?
Well, I'd love Johnny to be able to play in Israel. I'm sure he will. I hope he will in the future with my applause and everyone else's. But and obviously fans will miss out on him playing. But I think it's a small price to play. In recognition of the situation over in the territories at the moment. Music conveys a message to lots of people, and our movement's supported by lots of people, including Israelis and members of the Jewish community.
I'll just read you a quick quote from Johnny Rotten about this. He's quoted as saying, in response to the protest, "Of course there's all kinds of politics going on down there, but there is just about all over the world. You can't separate yourself from your audience because of political powers that be." Your response to that? Well,
yeah, I mean, I would say that politics is part of music, is part of life. Politics is part of life. We are what we do, and no man is an island. Johnny can certainly, decide on basis of information he's given. He isn't required to pull out, but I would very much encourage him to do so and join a growing list of artists who've made that decision.
And finally, what sort of form will the protest take tonight? I mean, if I was going to that gig and I'm hearing, there's going to be a protest outside, I might feel a little uncomfortable, a little wary. What would you say to anyone who's going along tonight to just enjoy the music?
Well, I hope the fans have a great time tonight. We'll be going along in the spirit of the occasion. We'll be leafleting, we'll have placards, we'll be joining in the theme, we'll be dressing up. We're encouraging performers to come along. We'll be talking to audience. We've got some guitars to take along, so it'll be a fun occasion. We want to engage with people, talk to the audience, and just hopefully that the supporters will take a message through to Johnny, which can involve contacting him at the gig, or even emailing him afterwards, joining the Facebook group, checking out Leeds Music Forum, and contacting his tour managers. Johnny is listening, he is aware of this tour, and he has responded, so message is getting across.
Thanks very much for coming in. That's Andy Brown, who's secretary of the Leeds Palestine Solidarity Campaign. There'll be a protest tonight ahead of Johnny Rotten's gig at the O2 in Leeds.
I do love the idea of Johnny Rotten perhaps being up at 27 minutes past 7 listening to us in the morning as well. It's not quite the image you have.
Changing face of rock and roll.
But then selling butter wasn't quite the image I had of him either. It's BBC Radio Leeds, Andrew Edwards and Catherine Hanna. I think the issue of politics and music, though, I think to when I was a student in the 80s and the whole business of whether you should bank, Barclays was the bank in question at the time, whether you should buy fruit from South Africa, whether you talked about some of the people who played Sun City, which was sort of equivalent to Vegas in South Africa. A lot of issues around that. And I know it's a different issue, but the artists who played behind the then Iron Curtain in East Germany and also in Russia as well. Fascinating. If you want to join the conversation, love to hear from you. 81333 is the text number, and when you text, you start that message with the word Leeds.